A worn-out mechanic, a rain-flooded yard, a dying semi rolling through the gate. What Ryan discovered in that end-of-shift storm wasn't just a distress call. It was a calculated scheme to make accidents look like procedure and bury anyone who intervenes. A plan that would have worked if he hadn't grabbed the radio and helped without permission. This is the story of how one decision in the worst moment changed 3 lives forever. When a dying semi-truck rolled into the rain-soaked yard, one decision changed everything. If you believe one decent choice can matter more than any paycheck, hit like right now. And if you love stories about impossible choices and second chances, subscribe. Because what Ryan does next will cost him everything. Ryan Carter didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a man doing survival math. Rent due next week. Groceries running thin. His son Noah's sneakers splitting at the seams. And Derek Voss, his supervisor, circling him like a bored shark with a clipboard. The rain came down hard just before dusk, turning the logistics yard into mud and glassy puddles that reflected the overhead lights like broken mirrors. Ryan wiped grease off his hands with a rag that had long stopped pretending it could get clean. His back ached from hours under trailers. Derek barked from the office doorway, dry and smug. "Finish it already, hero. Fleet needs those diagnostics before morning. And don't waste time on problems that aren't ours." Ryan swallowed whatever he wanted to say back. Derek loved taking little jabs at Ryan's military past, like it was something to mock instead of something that still lived in his bones. Ryan slid back onto the truck on the lift, tools clinking against concrete while the rain hammered the metal roof like a countdown. That's when the CB radio crackled. Static, sharp and biting, then a voice that didn't sound like it was asking for help. It sounded like it was saying goodbye. "Copy. If I stop talking, don't call anyone. Just keep going." Ryan snatched the mic. "Delta 9, this is Bay 4. Are you inside the yard?" A short laugh, then a cough that turned into silence and breath. "I'm here, but I'm not whole." The voice came back thinner, lower. "Engine's done. No pressure, no lights. Kid, I don't have time to die on the road today." Ryan's hand froze. An old rig limped through the gate like an animal dragging itself home. Headlights flickered. Steam poured from the hood. The truck groaned and stopped near Bay 4, shuddering at idle like it was fighting to stay upright. And that's when Ryan saw it, a red ribbon tied to the mirror, a veteran's marker. Not for style, never for style. For someone who didn't make it back. Ryan's stomach tightened, because he knew that symbol, and because it always seemed to rain when the memories came. Derek showed up fast, face twisted like he'd been waiting for a reason to say no. "Don't touch it. We're not a charity shop." Then louder, so people could hear him. "Look at that. The hero's gonna save another one. Want applause too?" But Ryan was already moving. There was something in that voice on the radio, raspy, exhausted, desperate, that flipped an instinct he couldn't switch off. The cab door creaked. A man climbed down slow like his body had been on the road since another era. Wade Sarge Holloway. Gray beard. Faded green jacket with an old patch. A slight limp on his right leg. Eyes deep set and tired, but alert in a way that didn't fade with age. He leaned on the door and pulled in air like it cost him something. Ryan stepped up onto the rail. "You in pain?" Ryan asked. Sarge gave a half smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I'm in time. Not much." He pointed behind the seat. A cooler strapped down with a ratchet belt. A thermal bag with a clinic label, real, official, the kind you didn't fake for fun. On the dash, beside a broken speedometer, a faded photo. A child in a wheelchair, smiling, and a younger man with the same hard eyes. Sarge swallowed once, like the words were heavy. "I've got meds back there. For a clinic out near Mason Ridge, West Virginia. There's a kid waiting." He paused. "My name's Wade, but today, call me Sarge." The nickname hit Ryan like a door opening to a place he didn't like to visit. From the ground, Derek snorted. We getting sentimental now? This is a business, not a church. Ryan climbed down, slow, controlled. And for the first time, he spoke without flinching. Exactly, it's a business. And businesses answer for it when they let people die because of procedure. Derek's face flushed. Last chance, Carter. Step away. Ryan didn't ask permission. He popped the hood. Chaos, heat, burnt rubber, a shredded belt, a mangled hose, a gasket threatening to become a disaster. No parts ready. No time, no work order. Just one truth Ryan had learned the hard way. There's always a way when someone has hands, courage, and enough desperation. He ran his fingers along the snapped belt, melted rubber, coolant low, and that smell. Overheat, one wrong move and it blows. He glanced up. Derek stood at a distance, arms crossed, watching like a judge waiting to sign a sentence. Ryan breathed in, and memory hit, metal, vibration, a different kind of roof. Not rain this time, but rotor thrum before a helicopter dropped into a makeshift base. Ryan blinked hard and shoved it away. Not now. So he did what he'd done his whole life. He improvised. Ryan sprinted to the yard scrap area and grabbed a belt someone had already tossed aside and a hose with a half crack in it. Then he ran back through the rain. Sarge stood under the awning, shifting his weight like he didn't want to get in the way. You're good at this, Sarge said. Ryan didn't look up. It's not being good. It's not having a choice. Sarge exhaled. When he spoke, it came out low and honest. In Vietnam, we didn't have a choice most days. Ryan seated the belt and forced the tensioner with a long wrench. Rain slid down his face, mixing with grease into a dark mask. You patch like that in the field, Sarge murmured. Helicopters, improvised bases. You learn not to depend on perfect. Ryan finally looked at him. And do you ever get past it? Sarge let out a dry laugh that barely existed. Past it? You don't get past it. You just learn how to carry it different. Ryan clamped the hose down. An ugly, temporary fix, the kind that gets someone home alive. He wrapped the hood twice. Started. Sarge hauled himself into the cab, grimacing as he turned the key. Nothing. Again. The engine tried. Coughed. Choked. Ryan's stomach dropped. If it failed now, Derek would have everything he needed to crush him. Again, Ryan shouted over thunder. Sarge cranked it. The engine caught. Not a roar, more like a groan that turned into breathing. Unsteady, but breathing. Ryan shut his eyes for half a second, like a prayer from someone who didn't believe in prayer. Then he saw something that turned his blood cold. At the edge of the yard, a security guard stood too still, phone raised, recording. Ryan's gut tightened, because it wasn't just Derek anymore, it was evidence. And in the wrong hands, evidence became a weapon. The truck idled, shaking, alive enough to reach the highway. Sarge climbed down once, pulled a crumpled 20 from his coat. Not much, it's all I've got. Ryan hesitated. Then he took it. Not for the money, but for the respect in the gesture. Sarge nodded once, climbed back into the cab, and rolled into the storm. Ryan watched the taillights fade. And he didn't know it yet, but he had just stepped onto a road that wouldn't let him turn back. The next morning, the yard smelled like oil and cheap coffee. The crew clustered near Bay 4, whispering. Derek walked out like he'd decided the ending before sunrise. Ryan didn't even have time to speak. The paperwork was already on the desk, printed, ready. This wasn't a conversation. It was an execution. Derek pointed at the page like he'd rehearsed it. You know what you did. Ryan glanced at the bulletin board, safety policy, faded and crooked, like a joke nobody laughed at anymore. I helped a trucker hauling medical cargo. Derek tilted his head, pretending he cared. And if the part you borrowed fails on the road and kills someone, you gonna pay? The company gonna pay? I'm gonna pay? Ryan froze, not because Derek was right, but because Derek knew how to use the word safety like a blade. Ryan breathed slow. "You're not worried about safety. You're worried about liability," Derek smiled. "Liability is the pretty word for not being stupid." Then he said it like he was reading an invoice. "Fired? Today." And it was over. Ryan's tools were locked up, his locker emptied. The other mechanics stared in silence, some ashamed, some pretending not to care. As Ryan passed the bay, he saw something worse than their eyes. One of them looked away too fast. Guilt, fear, and a cold certainty settled in Ryan's chest. This wasn't just Derek being cruel. Something was rotten in that place. Outside, Noah waited in the old pickup they shared. He looked up from his tablet, confused. "Dad, what happened?" Ryan couldn't find words that didn't sound like failure. So he just started the engine and drove. Ryan didn't drive home. He drove until the wipers couldn't keep up and the gas needle dipped into the red like a warning. Then he pulled behind a closed hardware store and just sat there, hands locked on the steering wheel. Noah didn't ask again. Not at first. He watched his dad stare through the windshield like he was looking at something that wasn't rain. Finally, Noah spoke, small and careful. "Are we in trouble?" Ryan swallowed. The word fired tasted like metal. "I lost the job," he said, "because I helped somebody." Noah blinked hard, like he didn't want the tears to count. "That's not wrong." "It's not," Ryan said. "But being right doesn't pay rent." They sat in silence. The heater sputtered. The pickup smelled like old coffee and work. Ryan reached into the glove box and pulled out an envelope he'd been avoiding. He didn't open it. He already knew the number inside. He looked at Noah. "We're gonna be okay," Ryan said, and he hated how much it sounded like a guess. Noah nodded anyway, like he'd decided to believe his dad on principle. Ryan started the engine again, but as he turned out of the lot, his phone vibrated. Unknown number. He didn't answer. It buzzed again. Then again, a text finally appeared. "Saw you helping that truck. Real smart." Ryan's jaw tightened. His thumb hovered. Another message followed before he could decide. Derek's not the only one watching. Ryan looked in the rearview mirror. Only rain and headlights. But the feeling stayed. The yard wasn't behind him. Not really. He put the phone face down and drove. And Noah, in the passenger seat, watched his dad's knuckles whiten and understood something without being told. This wasn't over. Ryan took a job at a scrapyard the same day. It was a downgrade in every way. Louder, dirtier, worse pay. But money had to come in. Pride didn't buy groceries. The scrapyard had its own sound, not noise, chewing, metal shrieking, presses swallowing cars, chains cracking like bones. The boss barely looked at Ryan. "If you know how to use a wrench, start there. If you don't, learn fast." Ryan started and learned something else. In a scrapyard, nobody cares about your past. But everyone can smell weakness. Bitter men made jokes that were really warnings. A guy called Hank Rust Miller took it personal. "I heard you were a soldier, and now you're here digging scrap." He said it loud so everybody could enjoy it. "So the hero is here now? Heard you fixed a truck in the rain, and got fired for it. Smart." Ryan kept fighting a rusted bolt. Hank kicked a can near Ryan's boot. "Hey, vet. Still think the world owes you something?" Ryan stood slowly. "I don't think the world owes me. I think a kid shouldn't go without medicine because a boss wants to feel important." For 1 second, the yard went quiet. Then the press crushed a car like punctuation. Hank smirked. "Pretty. But pretty doesn't pay rent." Ryan went back to work. The next days became a blur. Ryan worked longer. Took the worst shifts. Let the insults slide because every minute meant food, heat, time. He came home smelling like rust and burned oil, hands cracked, shoulders stiff. And still, it wasn't enough. One afternoon, a notice was taped to their door. Past due. Final warning. Ryan tore it down before Noah could see it. But Noah saw the way his dad folded it and shoved it into his pocket like he could hide the problem by hiding the paper. That night, Noah sat on the edge of his bed and stared at his sneakers. The soles were splitting. The laces were frayed. Noah wasn't thinking about shoes. He was thinking about his dad. About that moment in the rain, how Ryan had moved without hesitation. And how the world had punished him for it. Noah opened his laptop again. Not because he wanted to be brave, because he was tired of feeling helpless. And through it all, Noah watched. 12 years old. Too smart for his own peace. He saw his father swallow humiliation like it was food. After school, Noah started showing up at the yard, sweeping, sorting, just being there. At night, Ryan would climb into the pickup and see Noah pretending to sleep in the passenger seat, and guilt would crush him. One evening, after Ryan passed out from exhaustion, Noah opened his laptop. He didn't hack like in the movies. He didn't do it for revenge. He did it because he could feel something was wrong. The old logistics depot stored reports online. The portal was outdated. Noah tried a few obvious passwords and failed. His heart jumped. He stopped, breathed, and tried something else, something he'd once seen on a sticky note near his dad's monitor months ago. It worked. The moment it opened, Noah's stomach turned. Because the screen didn't just show files. It showed his dad's name, Ryan Carter, employee ID, service notes, supervisor flags, termination, safety violation. They made his dad look reckless, like he'd endangered people. Noah scrolled, faster now, hunting for the truth. Then he saw it, timestamps that didn't make sense. 3 trucks cleared at the exact same minute. Reports stamped at impossible hours. That's not how time works, Noah whispered. Same phrasing, same punctuation, same typos. Copy-paste perfection. He clicked into vendor payments. One code repeating under different names. A P.O. box. Then another vendor, same box. Cold spread through him. Then his screen flickered. A small chat bubble appeared in the corner. Need help finding something? Noah froze. That wasn't part of the site. His cursor shifted, just a fraction, like someone else touched it. The bubble vanished. Then the notification hit. Session monitored. Noah didn't slam the laptop shut. Too loud. Too obvious. He forced himself to breathe slowly, clicked out one page at a time, logged off, shut down. He sat in the dark, listening to the house like it had turned into a trap. If someone was watching him, they might come for his dad. He waited until he was sure Ryan was still asleep, then slid the lock into place. It didn't make him safe. It just made him less helpless. The next day at school, Noah couldn't focus. At lunch, he didn't eat. He watched doors and windows like they were countdown clocks. But he made a decision. If he was going to do this, he had to do it right. Once, clean, no mistakes. He came back the next day, used a different connection, saved local copies. And when he finished, he didn't feel victory. He felt fear. Because he'd put his hands on something big, and big things fall on the people who touch them. He printed it all, slid the pages into a folder, and wrote one word on the front. Proof. Under it, smaller, like it was just for himself, for my dad. Miles away, Sarge's battered truck reached a rural clinic before sunrise. Nurses ran to the load. Inside one package was a critical dose, minutes between life and death for a 5-year-old girl. The doctor said later they were close. Too close. The clinic didn't look like the kind of place that made the news. No shining lobby. No glass walls. Just tired lights. Tired faces. People who had learned to wait because the world forgot them first. A nurse grabbed the thermal bag like it was gold. "Is it all here?" she asked. Sarge nodded once. "It has to be. The doctor appeared, eyes sharp, voice clipped with pressure. "We're out of time," he said. "If this dose is compromised." "It's not," Sarge said. "I didn't let it breathe." The doctor held Sarge's stare for a beat, then turned and moved fast. Sarge watched them run. And for a second, he wasn't in West Virginia. He was somewhere loud, hot, dust in his teeth, a radio screaming, a man yelling his name. His hands shook harder. He shoved them into his jacket pockets until the tremor became invisible. Then he walked back to his truck without asking for thanks. Because if he stayed, he'd have to feel it. And feeling it all at once was how a man drowned on dry land. Before the sun came up, he pulled onto the shoulder and killed the engine. Silence dropped heavy. He cracked the cargo door just enough to look. Meds, insulin, nebulizer supplies. Small things worth more than the truck. He pulled a crumpled list from his pocket, names and addresses written by hand. Some had an X, delivered. Others had a circle, urgent, at the top. People before freight. Sarge stared at it like an oath. At a gas station, he poured black coffee and pulled out a burner phone. His hand shook as he dialed. "Logan, it's me. I need to tell you about a mechanic I met." On the other end, silence. When Logan answered, it wasn't warm. It was controlled. "Wade, you're playing with the company." Sarge stared at the steering wheel, worn smooth by years. "I'm playing with my conscience. The company is just metal. You want me to cover you forever?" Sarge closed his eyes. "No, I want you to cover the people nobody covers." Then he hung up. In Franklin, Tennessee, a mansion sat like a fortress at the edge of pine trees, glass, stone, steel. The gate opened without argument when Sarge's beat-up rig crawled up the drive, coughing gray smoke. Nobody stopped someone tied to the Holloway name, especially not that Holloway. Logan Holloway stood on the porch with perfect silver hair and a smile built for boardrooms. "You look wrecked," Logan said. "I am, but I made it," Sarge answered. Inside was quiet in a way that felt expensive. Logan's office was full of awards and photos with politicians. CEO of Blue Ridge Freight Group, a giant with thousands of trucks on the road. Sarge dropped into a leather chair. "I met someone near Knoxville. Mechanic. Good. Didn't ask questions. Didn't ask for money. Just fixed me and sent me on my way." Logan raised an eyebrow. "Name?" "Ryan Carter. Single dad. Veteran. Looks like he's holding the world up with both hands." Logan went still. Something moved behind the polish. Back at the scrapyard, Ryan worked like a ghost. But something else was changing, and Ryan tried not to see it. That week, Noah started sitting more, breathing like he'd climbed invisible stairs, smiling too fast when asked if he was okay. Single fathers learn a cruel skill. When you're surviving, you become an expert at saying, "I'll deal with it later." One night Ryan woke to a small sound. Tap, tap. He found Noah in the kitchen, hand on the sink, drinking water slowly, fingers trembling. "Son?" Noah turned, startled, forcing a smile. "I just got thirsty." Ryan wanted to push. Exhaustion won. Guilt arrived later. That same week, Ryan sat in a booth at a 24-hour diner near the interstate, holding black coffee like it was the last stable thing in his life. The bell over the door rang. Sarge walked in, coat dripping, boots heavy with road grime. He slid into the booth across from Ryan. Ryan stared. "You here to thank me?" he asked. Sarge shook his head. "I'm here to warn you." "Warn me about what?" Sarge glanced out at the rain-blurred headlights. "There are people who live off procedure, but there are people who live off worse. They don't like it when someone does the right thing without permission." Cold settled in Ryan's chest. "Derek." Sarge nodded once. "Derek is just the tip." Ryan wanted to call Sarge paranoid. He wanted to laugh and say the world wasn't that dark. But his phone still sat heavy in his pocket, face down, like it could bite. He slid it onto the table. Sarge glanced at the screen. Unknown number? Sarge asked. Ryan nodded. Sarge didn't look surprised. You did the right thing in the wrong place, Sarge said. That's the kind of thing some men can't tolerate. Ryan's voice dropped. What do they want? Sarge leaned back, eyes tracking the diner window like he expected shadows to move. Control, he said. If they can't control you, they'll control the story about you. Ryan swallowed. They already did, he said, thinking of the paperwork. The word safety. The way Derek smiled when he said it. Sarge nodded slowly. And now they'll try to make you disappear without touching you, Sarge said. No job will stick. No reference will land. Doors close before you even knock. Ryan stared at his coffee, black and bitter. That's not fair. Sarge gave a tired half smile. Fair doesn't drive these roads, he said. Ryan looked up. Why are you telling me this? Sarge's eyes softened just enough to show the truth underneath. Because you reminded me what it looks like when a man still has a spine, Sarge said. And because if they come for you, it'll be because of me. Ryan's jaw tightened. Then maybe it's time we stop letting them pick who gets hurt, he said. Sarge stared at him for a long moment. Then he nodded once. Like an agreement between two men who'd seen too much to need paperwork. Ryan leaned back, defensive. You don't know what you're talking about. Sarge pulled a small slip of paper from his pocket, a toll receipt. I stopped at a station after I left your yard. A guy came up offering help, asked your name, asked if you messed too much with my truck. He wasn't a trucker. Ryan held the receipt like a sentence. And you told him? Sarge met his eyes. I told him the mechanic didn't exist. Why? Sarge inhaled slow. Because I've seen good people disappear. For less. Two men who'd seen too much didn't need more introductions. You were Army, Sarge said. 3 tours in the Middle East, Ryan answered. Came back with a bad knee and a mind that won't shut off. Vietnam, Sarge muttered. We stopped asking names so we wouldn't carry more than we already carried. Sarge leaned in. I've been using my brother's trucks under the table. Veterans in tents. Clinics without insulin. Forgotten roads. If I get caught, fine. What are they gonna do to me? Ryan held the stare. That's not a crime. That's someone doing what nobody else will. Sarge exhaled like he'd been holding it for years. Every delivery. Feels like I buy back a piece of myself. Ryan nodded once. It isn't stupidity. It's honor, especially when nobody claps. And for the first time that night, Sarge looked lighter. That same week, Noah's anonymous tip detonated. Cumberland Logistics Depot turned into an administrative war zone. Investigators, inspectors, HR reps, trucks sidelined. Derek tried to shout his way back into control. This is an operational area. You can't. We can, an inspector said, calm, flashing credentials. And we will. Derek ordered 2 mechanics to help. Nobody moved. One of them, the same guy who'd looked away when Ryan was fired, finally met Derek's eyes. Courage. Boxes opened. Reports compared. Tires measured. Brakes tested. The depot seemed to shrink. Derek tried to call someone. No signal. Tried email. Locked out. Then an investigator placed a page on the desk. Derek's signature, but not Derek's handwriting. Recognize this? The investigator asked. Derek opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Across town, Ryan wiped his hands when something rolled up to the scrapyard gate that didn't belong there. A black SUV? Quiet? Clean? Wrong. A man stepped out with spotless boots and eyes that didn't miss anything. Ryan felt his old instinct rise. Danger doesn't always make noise. You Ryan Carter? The man asked. Depends who's asking. Call me Logan, the man said. I'm evaluating good people to lead a safety upgrade across our fleet. I heard you saved a rig in a storm. Ryan remembered Sarge's warning. Still, he listened. Logan brought him to a modern truck and told him to drive it like it was normal work. 10 minutes in, Ryan spoke. "It's clean, but there's a torsional pulse in the drivetrain. High frequency. Converter or transmission calibration." Logan turned slowly. "How did you catch that?" "You feel it in the chassis," Ryan said. "Most people don't, but it's there." After the drive, Ryan didn't pretend. "You didn't come out here just for a vibration." Logan looked at him like he was tired of hiding behind polish. "I came because my brother told me what you did." Ryan's eyes narrowed. "Your brother, Wade Holloway." Logan didn't deny it. The pieces snapped into place. So that old rig wasn't just an old rig. Logan ran a hand along the hood like he was trying to look ordinary. He shouldn't be hauling sensitive cargo like that. And he shouldn't be using company trucks off-route. "But he is," Ryan said. Logan's voice lowered. "My brother's making deliveries the company can't make. Not because it's impossible, because it isn't profitable. He's using my routes, my trucks, my name. If it goes wrong, it lands on me." Ryan stayed quiet. Logan's eyes flickered just once. "I could have stopped him. I could have called security. I could have cut fuel access and left him stranded." He swallowed. "But he isn't doing it for ego," Ryan exhaled. "He's trying to save himself on the inside." Logan nodded once. "And you were the first person in a long time who didn't treat him like a problem." Ryan's voice hardened. "I want the truth before I accept anything. I already lost a job. I'm not losing my son because I walked into someone else's mess." Logan met his eyes. "I don't want another company that only moves freight," he said. "I want a company that moves chances. And I need someone who isn't afraid to tell me no." Ryan let out a humorless breath. "You picked the right guy." That night, Noah sat at their small kitchen table, gripping printed pages like they might run away. "Dad, I need to tell you something about the depot." Ryan looked up. "It was me," Noah said, voice shaking. "I sent the proof to a reporter. It's already out. That's why they're investigating. I used your name in a file. I had to. I'm sorry." Noah waited for anger. Instead, Ryan stood, crossed the room, and pulled his son into a hug. "You did the right thing," Ryan whispered. "That's what matters. I'm proud of you." Noah's shoulders shook. "I couldn't keep watching them treat you like trash." "Me neither, son." But when Noah pulled back, Ryan felt it again, cold skin, sweat. That too fast breathing. "You okay?" Ryan asked. Noah forced a laugh. "I just skipped lunch." Ryan didn't sleep that night. And when Noah padded into the kitchen near midnight, Ryan didn't let him slip past. "We need to talk," Ryan said. "About your heart." Noah froze. Then he sat, defeated. "I didn't want to be a burden," Noah whispered. "You already work too much." "I thought I could hold it together." Ryan took his hands. "You're not a burden," he said. "You're the reason I'm still standing. And now, we have options. Good options." A few days later, Logan returned with a folder. A job offer. Lead of field mechanics and safety. A salary that could change everything. And one line that hit harder than any number. Full health coverage, including dependents. Ryan looked up. "Why?" Logan didn't soften it. "My brother trusts you. And I looked into what you haven't had time to look at. Your son's been to urgent care multiple times. He's hiding something. And you've been too busy surviving to notice." Ryan's wrench slipped from his hand and clanged to the ground. A week later, at Blue Ridge headquarters, Logan showed Ryan a plan. Retrofit safety across every region, starting with the oldest trucks. Design it for drivers, not for quarterly reports. Ryan listened, then said the only thing that mattered. "I want to bring someone." Logan nodded like he already knew. "Sarge." Ryan didn't flinch. "He sees who gets left behind," Ryan said. "Veterans. Rural drivers. People who think nobody hears them." Logan stared at his badge. "We just launched a veteran program," he said. "No one to run it." He met Ryan's eyes. "You think he'll take it?" Ryan nodded. "If you let him do it his way." Logan finally smiled like a human being. "And is there any other way?" There was no ceremony. Just 3 people on a clear morning beside a brand new white rig at the regional hub. The logo shined, people before freight. Sarge wore a new vest already starting to look lived in at the collar. Noah stood between them, trying not to grin too hard. Ryan rested a hand on the hood like he was anchoring the world. "You ever think we'd end up here?" Sarge asked. "Not in a million years," Ryan said. "But I'm glad we did, because some victories aren't shouted. Some battles don't end with a bang. They end with a beginning." If you were Ryan, would you risk your job to answer a distress call on the radio? Comment below. And if this story hit you, share it with someone who needs the reminder that doing the right thing still matters.